I dealt with over 300 fallen soldiers. I had to deal with reading death certificates in my 6 years of service. It never gets easier. Anything and everything I went through, I tucked away so I was able to go and do my job again. It's almost like not being human. I dealt with sending all these soldiers out to these forward operating bases. I just sent this person to their death, and now I had to send them home to their families. We're all getting ready for the ceremony to start. Sirens start going off as we start having RPGs and mortar rounds, incoming fire. I didn't run off anywhere. I stood there and was just watching everyone. I'm like, I'm just gonna walk to a bunker. And I lit up a cigarette. There's no point in running. We're all stuck in a bunker. If something just hit right on top of us, none of us are gonna be here. Getting out, the biggest thing is just feeling alone. Doesn't matter if you had friends there or not. You're 100% alone fighting a whole bunch of voices that seems like it's a whole bunch of people. You don't know where you belong. I'm Travis MossBarger. I was in the United States Air Force. I served from 2007 to 2013. I held the highest rank of Staff Sergeant.
Talk to me about what inspired you to join the military.
So interesting. As far as I can recall, I always wanted to join since I was 5 years old, and I don't know why, but I've always been fascinated with aircraft and war. One of my favorite topics is actually World War II. But I've always just been so interested in people serving, seeing people in uniform, and also just I guess things flying in the air. So just seeing all that and being taken to air shows when I was younger, I think that's just what created this whole thing. All my classmates when I was younger always knew that because I'd talk about it, that I wanted to join the Air Force. So all my friends always knew what I was going to do once I got out. So it's just one of those, it was crazy. It's because the fact, like, when I was actually finally going to join, it was between the Army and the Air Force, and just planes, I don't know, going fast and flying is just something that's always entertained me. Probably younger, when I was 5 and had to train, I'm going to guess Top Gun probably was part of that, the movie, but I think it's just the action and the story and the history of what our military is. That was just fascinating to me. But being that young, you don't realize like what is actually being in the military and what being a soldier or an airman or sailor, like you have no concept of what they're actually doing and what it actually costs. So I think also being half my family's military, because I got uncle, aunt that were Marines. I got two uncles that were Army. My grandpa was Army Air Corps. So just the history of it, I think also it really inspired me. So
yeah, you mentioned grandfather was a big inspiration for you. Is that right?
Yes, he was my main foundation and support for actually choosing to be in the Air Force. And actually he chose for me between the Army and the Air Force, because I asked him what I should do, and he's like, go Air Force. And he hasn't been in since he served 1 year in Korea. The president asked him to come back, and I don't remember what we were doing, but we had a family gathering. And I was talking to him out in the parking lot and telling him what I was thinking, and told him that I was interested. A side note, the reason I didn't go in when I was at 18 was I was in a relationship with someone that did not want me to join. She was so scared that you're not going to be around, you're going to die and everything else. She made me promise her that I wasn't going to go in. And at the time, first love, she was actually my first, and I was engaged to, and that ended. not the funnest details, but she left, didn't like things, but I also had no trust in her anymore because of stuff she did. So after that, that ended. I pretty much was talking to my grandpa, and he's like, "Yeah, no, you should definitely go Air Force. Best education and probably what everyone thinks. Nice, nice barracks and everything else. I don't know. I haven't been in yet. Just going off of what he was telling me, and I'm like, all right, so that's what I'm gonna do. So it's just a interesting time with being with family because my family was kind of separating and splitting apart. Grandparents were the glue that held the family together. So each time stuff would slip, pieces of the family would break off. So it was nice. I just wish I knew more stories from my grandpa. But World War II vets, they don't share much.
Yeah. Talk to me about basic training.
So oddly, I was actually one of the last flights. I was in one of the last flights that did 6.5 weeks. Afterwards, they moved it to 8 weeks, like the Army. But I wasn't sure. So pretty much we all go to a hotel. We have to stay the night. Then we get on the airplane and we fly out to Texas. Everything seems normal except for I knew I'm heading off to basic, but I have no idea what to expect. I'm already yelling, push-ups, doing all these drills and stuff. But it is still that mystery. All right, what is it I'm actually getting into? Getting off the bus, having to already getting yelled at. Actually, it wasn't even the bus. It was I started getting yelled at actually at the airport. They meet us at the airport. And I had a smile on my face and walking down, talking to somebody. And my first interaction with any drill instructor or anything was wipe that smile off your face with this mean attitude and like bark. It wasn't even a yell. It's a military bark. And instantly, like, smile was gone. And I think that's when I started locking up that whole inner child and not showing all the emotions. Is I shut those off because like, all right, there's no space for this. So after that, I'm guessing it's probably regular with everyone else. Getting in squares, figuring out what flight you're in, and then getting in. Everybody has to find a bunk. You either get a bunk bed or if you're lucky and you're in first, you can choose the first 3 beds that don't have any bunks on them. But you're also right next to the drill instructor's office. So it's kind of a win-lose situation. It's like, oh, cool, I don't have anyone above me, but I can't screw off or try to get away with anything because the instructor's in the office. But I mean, it's crazy because then it's like, all right, morning time, you're waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning. You're going out and doing PT. You're singing the Air Force song and then doing PT. And then after PT, it's doing whatever your job is, which, if you don't mind, I will share what my job was in basic training. I actually I volunteered. And one thing everyone tells you when you're going to go in, don't ever volunteer. Even once you're in, everyone tells you, and it's crazy that's that mindset. Don't volunteer for jobs. I volunteered. The drill instructor. We're all sitting in this day room, and everyone's just getting these jobs. I'm like, all right, well, that sounded easy. That could have been fun. Finally, he's like, I need someone that is detail oriented. I can't remember the word, but practically you have to be really meticulous on things. And I'm like, all right, this sounds like something that I can do. So I raised my hand and He's like, cool. Your job's going to be latrine queen. One, the name of it, or he goes, what? I mean, like, it has to do with the bathroom, but like, what is this? One, why does it have the title? But I'm like, all right, well, I'll figure out what my job is. Um, Come to find out, all right, I'm in charge of making sure the bathrooms are clean. All right, so now I'm automatically thrown into a leadership position, but I'm not even thinking fully I'm in a leadership position. I'm just thinking about this is my job. Got to make sure the latrines are clean, and I'm like, all right. So I started figuring out systems. My bunk mate, so pretty much the bed next to me, because I didn't have the bunk above me, was the dorm chief. He's the one in charge of the whole flight, which actually worked in my favor because when I need something done or I needed extra people, I just went to him, and if he came, all right, anyone gets done with their duties, they need to go and help out here. Uh, I learned some secrets from some other recruits. Yeah, they were recruits at the time because I've graduated basic. So it's like the recruits that were almost graduating, they told me secrets about cleaning the latrines and everything. And it really actually helped. So some of the secrets was, and I found this out because recruits that were on their final week would come in and they'd watch us Rainbow Week. That's what they called the first weekers, rainbow recruits. Practically because we all had different belts, clothes, and everything else on, so we were a rainbow of a mess of colors until we finally could go get our uniforms and everything. Which that's a whole experience. But I can get into that a little bit later. So they told me all these secrets, and the biggest one, there's two biggest ones. Barber shaving cream. Who would think it actually has eating away soap scum? But it does. So we'd cover the showers, and these showers, they're 4 shower heads a wall, no dividers or anything. So definitely open. There's no personal time in the Air Force Basic. You put it on the walls, leave it on there for 10 minutes, wipe it, spray it down, wipe it down, and the walls look like they've never been used except for whatever stains that are from years of being there. And then the other one is cleaning the floors. Well, everyone knows sweep, mop, and that's how you clean a floor. Problem with sweeping and mopping is it still leaves stuff on the floor. So the trick was afterwards is everyone always had lint rollers. Best friend was always lint rollers and kiwi polish for our boots. That was also the last flight to have boots we had to polish. That was always fun, but I learned how to do, because we didn't have lighters. So they actually I learned how to use the hot water from the sinks to heat up the leather enough so you can actually get the polish actually into the pores of the leather. But we took lint rollers, and I had everybody lint rolling the floor after we did everything. And I got only called out twice. Because if anything was wrong, when they went and did their inspections, I get chewed out for it, which then it goes downhill, as everyone knows. And so I wake up, do the whole routine of work, doing the workout, doing the chores, and then going shower, eating, and then after showering, and then it's classwork. But before the classwork, my instructor calls me in and tells me, he's like, yeah, you fail. The bathroom got a mark and during the inspection. They're trying to find something. They marked down that they found 2 ants in a sink. 2 ants. Like, you can't find anything else. I had to do push-ups because of 2 ants. And I'm like, I still was a little bit of a smart ass. I got to be. So I looked at my drill instructor address, and I'm like, well, I guess it looks like I need to put some people on guard duty to make sure there's no critters crawling around in the bathroom. And he got a smirk out of him. Instructors don't really laugh, at least not in front of recruits. I actually ran into it later on because my tech school was at basic training. And it was lunch break. I ran into my drill instructor, and he's like, we were talking. I was asking how things were going. It was actually more like this a conversation. And it's weird seeing a drill instructor where you see this whole side of yelling, you're stupid, you're screwing up, and you're not worth anything, aside from getting that from somebody to now he's actually treating you like being a person and having a normal conversation. I was thrown off a little bit with it because I'm like, all right, how should I act with him? But it turned out to being just a regular conversation. He's just a normal guy with a great personality when he's not being a drill instructor. I think the crazy part with Air Force Basic, and I don't know if other branches do this or not, but all the drill instructors sit at a table, and once you get your food, you as you walk around to go to a table, you could have a chance of being called by the instructors, and they're going to ask you a question or something. We call it the snake pit, because if you screw up or don't answer correctly, you have to go all the way back through, and then hopefully do it again. Or they actually were nice enough to let you go after they made fun of you to finally go sit at a table and eat. I actually think I only got called up once, but that was just interesting. I don't really have a big story with that. I guess the biggest story I have, just witnessing that was just crazy.
Yeah, yeah. Talk to me about, where did you get assigned, and what was it like checking in as a brand new airman?
So definitely with the Air Force, you don't get to choose your locations. You can have a dream sheet, but doesn't mean anything. I actually think the Air Force was playing a joke with me, but I actually got stationed at Travis Air Force Base, which is in Northern California, right next to Fairfield. So yeah, I thought that was a joke, being my first name and sending me to that base. Running joke for that whole time it was my base, which got old after a while because after hearing it over 200 times, it's like, all right.
When you check in as a brand new airman, do the senior airmen put you through any type of initiation? Did you experience any of that, or was it just all smooth sailing?
Nah, the senior airmen tend to like playing. They love to play certain games. Pretty much their initiation is having you go look for something or do something that's not. Mine was I had to go ask around for an EV key. So EV is an automated system we can control to grab pallets out of stuff. And it's electronic, but they asked me to go find the key. So I started wandering around the whole warehouse, asking everyone, even the NCOs know what's going on. So they'll tell you to go other places. I ended up going to 3 different buildings, trying to find a key. And then finally, at some point, I think it finally clicked. I mean, this is probably about an hour and a half. So they're wasting time too. All fun and games, but it finally clicked. You don't need a key for something you push a button on, but I didn't. I got shown the vehicle once, and it took me that long for it to click. Like, wait, there's no key. You hit a button to switch it on, and it starts going. But yeah, they try to push you around as long as they can. One of a guy that I was in tech school with, he was there. He was going through the same process I was. And that same day, but later on, they had him take a trash bag out on the flight line and get air samples because they wanted to test the air to see what if there's anything in there. So literally he's running around capturing air in a trash bag for an hour. And I'm just like, we were sharing the story, we're just laughing. And he's just like, I had to do this. And I don't even know why I was running around trying to capture all of it, but I was for an hour. I'm just like, oh, geez Louise. I'm like, did it ever click to you why you were doing it or ask why you were doing it? And he's like, no, just start doing it. I'm like, well, we're conditioned just to listen and do things. So
How did he even know if he was doing it right or if he had enough air or what?
I actually didn't ask him those, but he told me he's like I had to have it as full as possible and to seal it off. And he would bring it back and like, all right, cool. That's still not enough. You need to go get another one. So like it wasn't just one. I think he ended up having to do, and they told him to go to different sections too. And none of us get to drive on the flight line at this point, so that's a lot of walking with a trash bag. And at this point, it's everybody on the flight line that works is seeing this, so everybody knows what's going on. We don't.
Talk to me about Kuwait and getting worked up. What's the workup like, and what was processing through your mind, knowing that we're in a time of war and you're getting ready to go to Kuwait.
I was actually pretty excited when I found out that I was going to be deploying. I was a little bummed it wasn't Iraq, but they're like, no, you're going to go to Kuwait. You're going to be supporting everybody going to Iraq, so you'll be supporting Iraq. So getting to Kuwait and actually doing the job, our job was having to work with other units, and they're all different branches, other countries. Um, I had to move cargo, so anything from bags to weapons, anything you could think of that would an army unit would be moving. I actually had to start moving into work and moving cargo for the 101st Airborne. And they gave us 6 months to move all their gear. The team that I was working with, great guys, we talked to the 101st and told them, all right, this is what we're going to do. Here's our game plan. We started moving and pushing all their gear, and we're pushing 40 to 50 pallets of gear a day. We actually kind of made some connections, traded up some stuff, but while doing this, we were actually able to save the 101st Airborne 3 months of their out of the 6 months it was supposed to take. So those 3 months, all the guys that were there got to go home, and they actually got to go and spend time with their family for 3 extra more months before they went to Iraq, because that's where we were pushing all their gear to.
How were you guys able to cut 6 months into 3 months?
Actually coming up with a system of we were able to all the vehicles, because we're pushing all these vehicles with all their gear to vehicles would go on this line, and then we would have all the trucks coming in doing all their connexes. So we actually split up an 8-group team into 4-man groups and doing different things. And our NCOs, and they had a game plan, and they were making sure everyone was doing what they needed to get done. And it's just communication, because it's not just us getting the gear. Trucks, pretty much the 101st, having them get everything there, so that also helped. They had everything ready for us and staged in one location so they could bring it in. It's just the teamwork and the camaraderie, being able to communicate and just push. But having fun doing it. It wasn't just a job at that point. It's like, hey, this is our job. Let's get it done, but let's have fun doing it. So, some shit talking always going on, but that's what made it fun. So, I think besides doing that, at the end of that, actually, we being able to do that, we actually got coined by the 101st. The lieutenant came up and thanked us and actually coined us with 101st Airborne coins. And you only can get that coin usually if you graduate 101st Airborne School. So 8 of us actually got coined by them for doing that job and thanking us for it. So
Wow.
I think that's really awesome because people get to see family. For them to be able to go home early and spend time with the family.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. Talk to me about Afghanistan, man. That's your first trip to Afghanistan.
First trip to Afghanistan. It was crazy. First time going out to a location, actually a combat location. We were doing, everyone had to be out in formation on the streets. They're doing a fallen comrade ceremony. This is evening time, probably around 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock p.m. And we're all standing out, getting ready for the ceremony to start. And sirens start going off because we actually start having RPGs and mortar rounds come incoming fire. I had people, everyone starts scattering, running all over the place to take cover. It was crazy.
Where were you guys at in Afghanistan?
Bagram Air Base, and a little section of the Air Force portion we have. I think that part for me was just went through my head during the whole RPG attack. Was the fact of I didn't run off anywhere. I actually stood there and was just watching everyone. And then I finally started walking. I'm like, I'm just going to walk to a bunker. And I lit up a cigarette and started walking to a bunker. And just like, there's no point in running. You run, I'm probably going to catch a rocket or mortar while I run. And it's going to happen. It's going to happen. So I walk and then I finish my cigarette. I'm standing outside a bunker that's full. And people are asking me if I'm all right and everything. So finally I get in the bunker, and that's when my emotions really actually start clicking, because everyone's in there and everyone else's emotions. You just kind of feed off of each other's emotions. One guy starts throwing up, and because he gets anxiety, I'm just ready to get out and be able to wander around free and everything. But it was crazy on the fact of we're all stuck in a bunker that's built out of concrete that a mortar and RPG can literally take out by hitting it. And we're all huddled there like we're safe, when really we're just a big target for everyone thinking about it. And it's just like, if something just hit right on top of us, none of us are going to be here. But that was the first time experiencing any type of incoming combat or anything with that. And it's weird because it had to come in when we were getting ready to honor somebody that had paid with their life. So,
did you guys end up conducting the ceremony?
The ceremony, afterwards, they did not have anybody continue it. They just took the vehicles and then with the casket and the fallen soldier to the aircraft and got them on. I think they were worried that the insurgents knew kind of what was going on, because they made announcements about the fallen ceremony. So I think they were just waiting for it. So it didn't actually get to be completed, but it's definitely an interesting take of having my first RPG mortar attack, any type of attack, going through this type of attack, while also first time really dealing with and going through a fallen comrade ceremony, witnessing this is the aftermath of something that went wrong and we lost somebody. So I probably about a 50 to 100 on that deployment alone, dealing with fallen comrade ceremonies and just even MedEvac aircraft. I actually had one of the guys that came out with me. He was young, had a newborn, at home with the wife, and we were dealing with PAX services. Medevac aircraft came in. I chose not to allow him to do anything with the medevac aircraft as long as we were on the same shift. My first experience with the medevac aircraft, which followed suit with after the first mortar attack, was I got out there, and a lot of guys they have some bandages, they have some IVs. Some you would see when you walk into a hospital, you would see. But there's this one guy that would stand out, and because he was covered head to toe in bandages, completely blood, and he had 3 IVs. I think one was blood, one was the liquid. I'm not sure what, but he had 3 IVs hooked up to him, and they were pretty much trying to get everything cleared off, and everyone cleared off to get this guy out because like he's the main person that we need to get off of there. That one, there was no fallen soldier. He was the closest thing to. I actually don't know what happened after all that, but that one haunted me for a long time. Just seeing a human fully covered that way. It's almost like being put through a meat grinder and trying to duct tape something back together is what it looked like. But yeah.
Did this become your duty to transport these injured soldiers? You've had experience with doing a lot of these now, right? So did that become a duty of your guys's, or how did you get involved in that?
It is part of our duty to do, because we had to make sure everything lined up paperwork wise and everything for the flights. And it became an everyday thing going through and dealing, and also it's just to honor those who paid the ultimate sacrifice, because even just standing there on the side of the road for the fallen comrade, we always had to do those too. But it was it was just a duty and a job. Part of the duty was the respect of those who paid. The job was dealing with medevac aircraft, dealing with getting the fallen soldiers to the aircraft to get home. It was all a job and a duty.
Yeah. Yeah. Talk to me more about that experience.
With the going through and dealing with all of that, my second deployment to Afghanistan is where a lot more of it happened. And so besides, between the two, I transitioned from dealing with the medevac aircraft. I still dealt with some of them, but I had to deal with not escorting all of the soldiers, but I actually dealt with reading death certificates. So I was the main guy to make sure we can get our fallen home. So I had to sit there, and I'm having to read how our brothers and sisters ended up taking the Angel flight home. And there's only one particular one that sticks with me. It's the last one I actually did. But having to go through and read all these, your emotions, you have to tuck them away. You can't have them showing, or you wouldn't get your job done. So a lot of emotions got buried. But this last one, I think I was confused. That's the only emotion I allowed to come out. I was confused on how this situation happened. And the situation was an Army sergeant decided he was going to walk himself outside onto the flight line of where the Army helicopters are all at and medevac aircraft helicopters are at. And I don't know the backstory. I don't know exactly what's going on with where he is mentally. But helicopters are running their engines, are getting ready to take off. And he walks himself into the rear rotor blade of a helicopter that's running and commits suicide. And I read all this because I have to put it into the system so we can get him home to his family. And I'm just confused for this. How? How do we not see someone being not acting correctly, um, to be able to make sure we can save them from taking their own life, even on a deployment? But it all really hits home really hard because after a while, it's like, one, it becomes a duty. It is the duty so we can to take care of the family. It's not just the soldiers we lose; it's the families. Make sure they can have closure. It's just
Can you walk us through like you handling the entire process of that?
the whole process is. I'll take you through one of my other experiences because there is another experience. In 2011, we had a helicopter that got shot down. It had some SEAL team members on it. I had a few other people. There's about 20 people on this helicopter that got shot down, and they all come through. They get sent to Bagram Air Base. I get into work. I get a stack of the papers, and they're all the death certificates. So I have to start off with reading and put them into the system. Once I do that, we have to go out and we have to make sure we get the paperwork to the casket. And then and so that now, not only is it the death certificate, now I'm seeing the casket, that the vessel that's carrying our brothers and sisters home. And then once we get all the paperwork on there, it goes into being on the flight line. We put them on the K loaders. We're driving them out. We had 6 K loaders for this event that are driving out, and there's 4 caskets, I believe, on these, and they're all driving out to the aircraft. And it's a big ceremony. Everybody was told to, if you're not working, to go. I stayed as long as I could, and then I had to go and back to the room and take medication because of already dealing with so much. I I had to. I was having issues checking my emotions, like we're supposed to. But the whole process, just going from there to the aircraft, is, what's in there, and it's covered with the American flag, and just the respect that everybody that's doing our duty does to get it there. I think one of the other hardest parts is, and it's crazy for me to, I don't understand that this either, is other soldiers are getting on an aircraft that are going home, and they're actually riding on a military aircraft with fallen soldiers on it. So they're flying on an Angel flight, but they don't show any respect. They're tripping over the devices that are holding our brothers and sisters down in the aircraft. They're tripping over the corners of these caskets with flags. So that's another part of the process, is just dealing with people getting loaded with all these people on there. It's the beginning of the journey of getting them home. And I think it's one of the biggest parts of that journey. The whole journey is big, but I think the beginning is the biggest part. I did not get chosen to fly with the body. I've had to deal with the ending portion when they came to Travis Air Force Base, and it's the same respect of taking them off. And at that point, we hand them over to the morgue so they can keep them on the freezer until the mortuary comes and picks them up. But the ending, I don't feel like there's as many emotions on that portion of it, but the beginning definitely makes a difference.
Is the family ever there when the casket arrives?
I had one where the family actually was there. That's definitely a different emotion because you're trying to. The family wants to ask questions. They want to talk to anybody that's there because they think they know what happened. They think they have the story. Most of the time, everyone that's doing with this journey doesn't have the story. It's because they try to break it up so not one individual person has the full story, even just for the journey, except for once it leaves and lands. They just want information. I think like everybody does.
And they want answers.
So it's just a very emotional experience. A lot more emotions because you're dealing with anger. You're dealing with being sad. You want to go destroy things and people that did this, but at the same time, you want to be there to help families and other people grieve that were close to this person. I think the hardest part about my job being in was the fact of it wasn't just I dealt with doing the reading gestures or dealing with the MedEvac aircraft. MedEvac aircraft, it's all hard because also at the beginning, if your part of your job could be, you're also sending all these soldiers out to these forward operating bases. And some of the ones you're sending home aren't being sent home the way you want to send them home. And sometimes you're not even sure if you're the ones that sent them out. So then you start getting this whole, all right, I just sent this person to their death. And now I have to send them home to their families. So it's a whole different type of emotional connection to the whole thing. I'm not 100% sure if I ever have actually sent somebody both directions. I'm going to probably say I have 90%, but I'm not sure. We send them out to their combat locations in the beginning, and then at the end we send them home. That when they didn't survive the combat location, we send them home to their families.
And you've done this.
I've done over 300 fallen soldiers. I dealt with over 300 fallen soldiers in my 6 years of service. And it never gets easier. I think what tied, I don't know how to explain what it did, but I think what the ending part that opened up doors to all the feelings I buried was I asked if I could be a part of my grandpa's funeral. And I actually handed the flag off after the ceremony team at the funeral folded the flag. I handed it to my family, and saying some of the words that we say to the families, I think it opened up all the doors of emotions, and that's the complete ending of the journey. And that was the only one I did, though, was my grandpa's. But it showed the complete start to finish of the journey for what could be and what was a lot of our brothers and sisters' stories of being in the military.
What would you guys say to the families?
A lot of it starts usually, we want to give our thanks and our respect to you and the rest of the family for your husband or father or brother or sister, whoever the member was, for laying their lives down for the family. And the president thanks you that your family member has also done this. And then I also gave a little extra on that. I'm glad that Grandpa was my support and backbone for being in the Air Force and being in the military. So it was a little more personal when I was doing it with my family because it was my eldest aunt who I gave it to. So it changed some of a lot of the emotions, I think, too. So I think it just opened, like I said, I opened to a lot of doors for when I was getting out because
How long after that did you end up getting out after your second deployment?
I got out 9 months after the deployment. After that deployment, I was out 9 months.
Why did you choose to get out?
My grandpa not being pretty much being on his deathbed at this time. He was on his deathbed, and I they wanted me to deploy again within 5 months of being home. Um, just the constant moving and going, and then wanting me to go on these deployments. I understood it's my job. That's what we're there for. But I think mentally, like wasn't sure what was wrong, but I could tell like I didn't have the energy to continue doing it. So I chose like it's time to get out.
Did you ever voice what you were going through to anybody in your command?
Not in my command, no. I think the only time I ever voiced anything was actually between between my second and my third deployment. I went to mental health and talked to somebody there, and then got on. They put me on a mental profile, so I wasn't deployable. But that was the only time I talked until they needed me for my third deployment, and I went in and I lied on everything, and so I could go on that deployment. So a new airman that was there was not being sent over to deal with everything I've already gone through. I didn't want a new guy going through all that stuff if I could help it. So I told my leadership that no, I'll go on the deployment, and that whole journey is I had to go to mental health and tell them I need to get cleared so I can go on this deployment. And I brought up that I lied on so I could go. Well, I had to sit there, and they brought it up, and they're like, well, you need to fill out this whole questionnaire. We need to make sure you're good. And I'm reading this list of what they want to check off. And everything they're marking off, I know I have issues with, but my duty and wanting to make sure to keep someone away from stuff so I lied on the questionnaire on every answer, gave them the answers they wanted, and went and talked to the mental health doctor, and I told him I'm perfectly fine. I had no issues. So I was able to finally get cleared. It was a whole day of going through and lying and making it seem like I'm perfectly fine, just bearing on everything, going back in, remembering basic training, remembering everything I've learned how to not have emotions and tucking them away. And I was able to get through all that. And the reason why is I just thought about what my grandpa went through in World War II. And I'm like, all the guys in World War II, they did what they had to do. And that's what the driving force behind my decision to do it is this is what I got to do. It seemed easy at the time when I was doing it. It's crazy that I was able to tuck memories away. I was able to anything and everything I went through, I tucked away, so I was able to have a clear mind and go and do my job again. It's almost like not being human. I pressured myself naturally just to do it. Nobody pressured me. I was actually the closest to having the same qualifications as an E7 when I was an E4 at the time. And it's just, I just pressure myself. I'm like, I have to do this just because I don't To be honest, I think I was also trying to lie to myself and tell myself there's nothing wrong with me. And I had to prove to myself there was nothing wrong with me. And that's where a lot of that pressure came from, was just, you're fine. You have zero issues. Everybody gets back and drinks and has fun and doesn't interact with all their friends all the time, or is kind of like a bump on a log during hanging out with friends. So I think that's what it really was, is I was trying to figure out where I was, who I was at that time. And the only thing I knew was my job. I think it's all of it all combined. It's just, who the heck am I? I know who I need to be, and that's all I did.
Mm. So that happened before going on your last deployment.
That happened right, yeah, that happened right before I went on my last deployment. That's how I was able to get onto my last deployment, was going through all of that. And that's also when I found out, like, my grandpa was on his deathbed too. So I was dealing with those emotions. Uh, a lot of different things were all there between my second deployment and my last deployment. One last thing is, and I know there's a lot of videos, and a lot of other members probably have really good going away before on their deployments, or coming back home from their deployments. On my first two deployments, I never had anybody see me off. I never had anyone welcome me home. I actually, coming home from my first deployment, I actually was landed in Baltimore. They had a whole bunch of people there welcoming all the soldiers home. It was kind of nice. I wasn't sure what the take was on it, because I know there's nobody there for me. But as I'm walking down the ramp, there's a sense of pride you have because everyone's there. And there's this 6-year-old boy just standing on the rail as we're walking down, and out of everyone, he's the only person that actually reached out and wanted to shake my hand and say thank you. And at the time, that's the only person that actually, or anything I received from being able to come home, until my last deployment, where I actually had people see me off. And then I also allowed friends, so a lot of my friends there was arguments back at home, and I didn't want to deal with it. But I allowed all my friends actually get to welcome me home from my last deployment. And it was nice because I knew I was going home to something. Where with the first two deployments, I was going home to do my job. So that was really nice. And when I got home, some of my friends, a few of them were serving or had served. And I'm all in my uniform still. And they're all being goofy. One's got no shirt on, wrote on his chest, a welcome home, and just being silly, wrapping his arms around me and trying to be, what word to use on it, but very much he's just showing love in the way he does. But it was good, because I was able to actually have friends there, and I got to go home with them, shower, and then we went out and got to celebrate me being home. So that, but that still didn't feel like the way the 6-year-old made me feel. Like that sparked emotions compared to me coming home to friends. But I think I think a lot of things I had shut off still.
What was it like leaving the Air Force?
Leaving it itself was definitely, it was nice. I had saved up please. So getting out, I automatically started doing college. While starting that, my girlfriend at the time actually tried throwing a surprise party, getting out party for me, and my some of the guys I worked with picked me up. We went fishing. One of the guys lost his fishing pole because the fish took off with it. But then we just went and did a whole bunch of things. And towards the end, I realized they're preoccupying me. So I knew something was coming. But then just doing school and getting out, I thought I was normal, but I didn't know what normal was. No one trains you or teaches you or walks you through getting out of the military. But a lot of mine was going out fishing every day. If I wasn't doing schoolwork, I'd go fishing and do schoolwork, um, which is always fun because I actually was doing drawings and paintings. So I got to paint a lot of fish and fishing and scenery. But getting out, I think the biggest thing is just feeling alone. Didn't matter if you had friends there or not. Just you don't know where you belong. I was living in Sacramento in an apartment. Um, I was engaged for a second time. That was all. I thought that was all going good. Out partying and drinking. Definitely got in the way of the relationship. Um, that ended. I decided to finally move in with some friends, and then I finally chose to move home a year after I got out. Just I didn't see how I was going to be able to be up there. I was tied to too many things up there with too many emotions that I didn't want to deal with. Um, and I thought be better to move home so I wasn't just partying, drinking, and I could actually hopefully go somewhere. So I transferred schools, still continued doing the schooling, moved home, moved back in with my parents. So for up, I actually still live with my parents, but now I'm actually taking care of my parents. So living situation, at least I've always had a roof over my head. Just so I didn't have to worry about living situations, thankfully.
Did you ever seek any type of help with your emotions? Like, where are you at now?
It took a long time. I actually decided a year ago to go and get help at a vet center and see a therapist because of my emotional problems, PTSD, and drinking. Just I was going down a wrong road, and a few events happened that finally woke me up, and I realized I need to seek help. So I finally did. And that year of getting help, now I'm sitting here sharing stuff that I'd gone through and never thought I would. I actually own my own company, which is fun because I get to go set up speakers and do audio for bands on the beach for a whole bunch of people and make them happy. I'm not waking up hungover. I'm not waking up hating my life. I don't have suicidal thoughts anymore. I love actually being here, being able to help people out, and being able to just enjoy life. Uh, so it's
You just said you had suicidal thoughts. What was that time like?
that time. There's a lot of drinking involved. I secluded myself. Even if I had friends over, there was no interaction with them really. I didn't really want to do things. I was fighting a whole bunch of inner demons. I, and honestly, I'm not even sure how I was able to come up with the only weapon I could mentally to fight it. But it's you're 100% alone fighting a whole bunch of voices that seems like it's a whole bunch of people. Um, but I was able to somehow I didn't never scared them away, but I was able to hold it off from actually doing it because I committed myself that I would never put my family or friends in a situation that I've gone through with losing soldiers and doing that whole journey. I didn't want to put anybody through that. Um, so I chose never to do it. I can have the thoughts, but I can't commit to it. Um, it was hard times. I can't remember all of them because of bottles, but that was just the easiest way of kind of living at the time. I think that's also why I went fishing. Don't have to talk to fish. Um, and I got to be alone, but I also didn't have to think about everything because I could just have a 6-pack of beer, fish, and not have to worry about anything except for the water, and I'm catching fish.
Hmm. What's the name of your company?
The company I started with actually my best friend who's got me to where I'm at now is CT Sound and Lighting. Um, we work with bands because bands can't afford paying production companies, and I want to be able to make sure bands and venues can afford good audio. And I'm actually trying to see if there's any other vets or people out there that want to do it because it is, in a way, a sense of relief. It helps you, it gives you a purpose and a job that is family oriented, and you don't have to worry about the struggles you're doing for the time because you get to help everyone else have a good time.
Mm. So you're looking to hire some veterans?
Yeah.
What would they be doing?
They'd be helping set up, being a stagehand. They'd help set up the speakers, running cables and microphones, and just talking with the band members. And they'd also be able to do audio. They'll learn how to do the audio side of it or the lighting side of it if they want to, and they'll gain a skill that they can turn into a career. And also be able to talk and hang out with people and be able to open up on anything they want to. It'd be kind of like being in the military, creating a whole nother family.
Mm. Nice. Well, man, Travis, we're going to wrap it up, man. Any last words before we cut it?
Definitely want to let any veterans or even active duty members, if you're feeling like you're at rock bottom, seek out vet centers. They actually really allow you to go in and talk to a therapist. It's all confidential. They're not going to share any information. And they allow you to really start working on yourself, and they'll figure out how to get you to transition to being back in the civilian world and finding who you are becoming now. And that's what the transition really is you got to find out who the new you is, what's your new personality. And you're not going to lose anything from it, but you'll be able to find yourself, and it will really help with fighting the demons and just getting yourself into a good position with a career and a life that you're going to love doing.
That's excellent advice, man. Thanks for being here, brother.
I appreciate you having me.
Yeah.